Hey, what's up YouTube? Down on the Smartphone Guy coming back at you with another video, and today I want to share with you my 1 week thoughts of using the ZTE Quartz. So this, as you can see, is an Android Wear watch, but specifically this is an Android 2.0 watch. And why that's significant is because at the moment, as far as I know, this is the cheapest Android Wear 2.0 watch that you can pick up. So, with that being said, there are maybe some sacrifices, so we'll talk about that with this watch. And one other thing that's worth mentioning for sure is the fact that this is a T-Mobile exclusive watch. So you have to be a T-Mobile customer to pick it up, or you're going to have to find it used somewhere, which is actually what I did. I found it used, but it's $192. And that's if you pick it up on T-Mobile. You can also have the option of paying $8 per month for 24 months also. And then if you're on T-Mobile and you want to have 3G service with it, there is a $5 fee as well. So that's definitely something worth mentioning. And one other thing worth mentioning is also if you pick it up from T-Mobile, they do require a $25 activation fee, which is kind of annoying since there is a SIM card built into it already. So they actually call it like a SIM fee. But since there's a SIM already in it, I don't know why you're paying for another SIM. I don't know, whatever. But that is what it is. So T-Mobile, $192. But either way, it's still the, as far as I know, cheapest Android Wear watch that you can pick up. So with that being said, let's talk about what all this thing has to offer. So first of all, we have the Snapdragon 2100 processor, which is the same processor that you'll see in the majority of the new Android Wear 2.0 watches. And I would say that so far it is quite snappy. So you can see running through the menu here and going into the Google Play Store, apps, things like that run pretty quickly. And yeah, so far I would say it's been very smooth. So there's 768 megabytes of RAM, which kind of seems small, but for a watch like this, so far I would say I haven't really had any quote unquote performance issues with the watch. There is 4 gigs of onboard storage. Now, currently, I'm using the majority of that for music that I have saved on the watch. So I, downloaded basically my entire Thumbs Up playlist to the watch. But yeah, so 4 gigs of onboard storage built into it. The other thing that I'll mention that I put on here is, of course, Google Play Music does not come natively to the watch, so I added that. And then Google Maps doesn't come natively either. I added that. But other than that, you do have plenty of room to add a number of apps if you want. So one other one that I would mention, probably worth downloading, would be a calculator. I think that's kind of like one that makes sense to have on a watch. But you can see the apps that it comes with. And of course, because this has 3G built into it, you can use it as a phone and you can get text messages directly to it as well. So that's kind of a cool feature that, for instance, my Huawei Watch 2 does not have. So anyways, something worth mentioning. So this does have built-in GPS. So if you want to use this for tracking a workout, so like let's say you're a runner like me, or a biker, or somebody like that that wants to track GPS, this does have that ability. And of course, you can use that GPS for maps as well. We have Bluetooth, and I've been using it with these headphones right here for my runs. So I go for a run, I can listen to these true wireless earbuds while connected to the ZTE Quartz, and that's worked out quite well for me. It is also IP67 certified, so if you want to go for a run and it's downpouring rain, you're going to be just fine because this is going to essentially be waterproof. Now, it's not waterproof in the sense that I would go swimming with it because IP67 technically can go underwater, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It's not really meant to go, deep underwater because at that point you're probably going to ruin the watch. There is a 500 milliamp hour battery, so that is a massive battery for a watch. And I will say that because of that, the watch is a little bit weighty. So I did notice that when I went running, or when I've run with this watch, that it's definitely heavier than other watches that I've worn in the past. But it is what it is. But that battery also, of course, gives you longer battery life. So with that being said, let's talk about the build of the watch. So one thing you'll notice, first of all, right away is the fact that I'm not actually using the bands that came with it. And that is because these are the bands that I got with it. I'm the third actual owner of this particular watch. So it does come with sport bands very similar to this, but these happen to actually be a band from the Samsung Galaxy S3 Frontier. But you can see here that it does use 22 millimeter, which is a pretty standard watch size or wristband size, and they are completely removable. So just like these are removable, the bands that come with the watch are also removable, which is nice. And they are sporty silicone bands similar to this that come with it. But the watch itself, of course, is metal. And then down here, this is all plastic. We do have a microphone over here, so that's going to be for phone calls, but then also for activating Google Voice there. And then also we have a speaker. And I will say that so far that speaker, that not just so far, that speaker is the loudest speaker I've ever heard on any watch in my life. In fact, it's louder than some phones. So that's kind of crazy. And in terms of the display, right now it's on ambient mode, but it is an AMOLED display. It's a 400 by 400 megapixel, 400 by 400 pixel density, but we have 1.4-inch display, so a nice large display there, which is going to be, I would say, probably a little bit large for a female's wrist, but I would say this is definitely marketed towards men because of that larger size. I already mentioned the software, so this is running Android 2.0. And if you're not familiar with Android 2.0, there's a lot of new things that are built into Android Wear 2.0 that I think are huge improvements over Android Wear 1. So we can go in here to the settings, and you can see we got some display settings, sound and notifications, so we can change the volumes there. And again, this does take calls, so you can make it vibrate for calls. In terms of apps, so these are just the apps that I have built in, and then of course the system apps. Like I said, I only downloaded those 2 apps so far. Gestures, of course, we have tilt to wake, so that's just flipping your wrist. I have that turned off because I find that turns on way too often. Same thing with the wrist gestures. Those are going to be, you can scroll using wrist gestures, which is, I don't really find that to be useful personally. Basically, it's hands-free options, but I haven't found those to be all that useful. In terms of connectivity, we kind of already talked about these, but of course it has Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, 3G cellular, and so of course we have GPS, so I have that location there. Some accessibility options, personalization options as well. So we can have OK Google detection turned on. Sorry, probably just activated some people's phones. My apologies. And yeah, so those are available there as well. The other way to access Google Assistant would be to just long press this here. What was the score of the Tigers game? Not sure if that'll actually work. Yeah, it won't actually work right now because I'm not on, I don't have the Wi-Fi turned on at the moment. But yeah, so it does have that option by just long pressing the button. A single press will bring you into your apps. So anyways, yeah, those are some nice options. But in terms of my overall feelings about the watch. So I would say a couple of the weaknesses that it definitely has is, first of all, there's no NFC built into it. So I don't know if that's something that's important to you, but if you want to be able to make mobile payments using your watch, that's not available on here, which I think, in order to make the watch a little bit cheaper, I think that is a reasonable thing to get rid of because typically, of course, if you're using a smartwatch, chances are you probably have a smartphone that has NFC built into it because you're probably a techie like me. And so, is it necessary to have NFC on a watch? Well, it's convenient, but I would say in this case, it's not necessary. So that is definitely something you're going to lose here. It doesn't have 4G built into it either, but personally, I use my watch as a Bluetooth tethered watch. So I actually have had it tethered to my HTC U11, and I just find that to be far more useful than trying to use 3G service on here. I don't find 3G service to be all that useful. But let's go ahead and jump into some of the other things that this thing has built into it in terms of the software. So of course we have plenty of watch faces. This is the standard watch face it comes with. That's the one you'll actually see on the box. But personally, I like digital watch faces. So whoops, didn't mean to do that. So actually you can see that by swiping to the right, that's going to actually be used as a back button essentially. But when you're in the watch face, you can swipe to the left and it'll allow you to see your other watch faces. So I use this one called Elements Digital, and you'll notice that if I swipe again, swipe over again, Try again. There we go. Okay. And notice that there's this little settings option here. So that's going to allow you to change what data you see in the background. You can change the styles there. So there's lots of options available. And then in terms of watch faces, basically it's an unlimited amount of watch faces. I say that because with it being Android Wear, you can use apps like Watcher, and then there's a bunch more added on here that you can, of course, choose from. So that's just what I chose. This is just one I like because it shows some essential, what I find to be essential information. And then if I swipe down, you can see here that so I've been contacting GearBest because I have a phone that I ordered from them that I don't have. But you can see that real easy to work through these notifications here. So I could actually go into like this message here and I can kind of swipe through this entire email because I didn't have the phone yet. I'm trying to figure out why I don't have it yet. And we can come down here and I can archive it, delete it, or I can actually reply to it as well. So I'm going to go out of that. Oops, I hope I didn't just delete that. I might have on accident. My bad. But anyways, yeah, so I do like Android Wear 2.0. There are some things about it that I don't like. I've already mentioned this in my review of the Huawei Watch 2, but one thing that's a little bit frustrating is like if you're using Google Play Music, just something that would make sense to me, and this will be a good opportunity for me to play some music for you using that speaker. But if I'm playing music, I don't have the option I don't have anywhere that there's an option to shuffle my music. So it's just going to play through your playlist, which is a little bit frustrating, but it is what it is. So let's go ahead and listen to that speaker now just so you can see how loud it is. Now, like I mentioned, it's a fairly loud speaker, certainly loud enough to make phone calls like speakerphone for sure. But yeah, that it's one of the loudest speakers I've ever heard, certainly on a watch, but even louder than some speakers on phones, like I mentioned. But uh, yeah, so anyways, with that being said, if you have any questions about this watch, um, personally, who do I think this is for? This is just for somebody I think that's a techie that likes to have a smartwatch that doesn't necessarily want the most expensive smartwatch. I think it's a good option. If you're a runner, I don't think I would necessarily recommend this watch. It's missing a heart rate sensor, of course. That was another thing I should have mentioned earlier when I talked about what it's missing. But overall, I do think that this is a nice watch. Battery life, I probably should mention that since that's an important thing as well. You can see here that I'm at 18%, so that's using it all day, getting all of my notifications on here. That's using it quite heavily. I did go for a run with it. I had my headphones connected with GPS, and it got through the day even after going through using GPS, using my Bluetooth, all that. This is easily a watch that you'll get a full day battery life on. Now, with that being said, typically, I think for most people, you could probably get 2 days of battery life on this watch if you're just using it Bluetooth connected to your phone. If you are using it with 3G service, in that case, I found that I could get through a day, sometimes not even quite through my full day. So if you're using it as a 3G watch, which is another reason why I don't really like using it as a 3G watch, is that the battery life is not anywhere near as good with 3G connectivity. But if you're using it as a Bluetooth connected watch to your phone, you're easily going to get through a day no problem, even if you're using it heavily. But if you're not using it as heavy, you can probably get, for most people, I'd say 2 days of battery life. So anyways, that's my thoughts on the ZTE Quartz. One other thing worth mentioning here is the charging connector here. So that's how you're going to charge it, and then you just plug it in here. But overall, a pretty darn good watch. Probably worth $192. But it is kind of annoying that it's only available on T-Mobile. I wish it was available other places, even if it didn't have 3G connectivity. That would be nice if ZTE would sell it as a standalone watch without 3G connectivity. But anyways, my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments down in the comments section. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.